disliked, his favorite kinds of cookies, how much he liked my cooking, how sweet he always was, as he held me in the halls. I was afraid to touch on something that might upset her. Anything regarding physical intimacy beyond what she had already seen from us. I think she probably knew, but never pried past what I willingly offered to her. Maybe one day I would be able to talk to her comfortably about those kinds of things. I hoped I would. When we got home, I'd usually sit with her in her room and read some of her ridiculous girly magazines while she did her homework or picked through her closet. She'd always smirk when she saw me reading, probably thinking her femininity was rubbing off on me, which was such a lie. I still allowed her to dress me up every weekend. And I was more than glad that she kept things mostly conservative, though something told me she was easing me into her idea of fashionable. I still used up my veto on her first pick of every Saturday. I think she planned it like that. Tricky pixie. And every night I would make supper for the three of us as me would smile while we all discussed our day. I got the feeling Alice was more comfortable discussing things like Jasper around me since I had some information of my own to offer where the subject of boyfriends was concerned. Not that I usually did. I'd get impatient for Tim, always making cookies, and lining up the 8 bags on the counter afterwards. I was up to using 4 cookie sheets every night. I love it. Having so many people to share my creations with. It was only mildly embarrassing that I gave them all a private insight to my day when I named them. Especially when the names were something like, Very Tasty Nibbles. Of course only Edward and I knew the exact context of that name. He liked it when I used my teeth. He probably thought I didn't know, but I could tell whenever I would graze his earlobe with them and he would shiver. I was saving that particular piece of information for desperate measures. When I needed to challenge his control and I couldn't pull his hair. It was probably a little conniving of me, but I locked it away for further use. When I climbed up the lattice and to his door at night, I was always anxious. Nervous that something had happened during our time apart and he was lost in his memories again. I'd be tapping my foot anxiously when he'd open the door. I'd check his forehead first and foremost before anything else. It was all because of one night in particular when I came over. I could see the crease in his forehead, and knew that he was troubled. It was unexpected because he had been fine at school earlier in the day. But I knew his behavior well. It was the same way he acted that night as me asked about his childhood. He ate quietly, casting glances at the spot he kept his sketchbook. But when he was done I didn't allow him to get that far into his wallowing. I did the same thing as that night he came over for dinner. Pulling him down beside me on the bed when he was done eating, and stroking his hair softly, I asked him to tell me about his mother. And just like before, he got a flash of pain in his eyes as he closed them. And when they opened again, he had once again transformed into the innocent and vulnerable Edward that was so alien to me. He began twirling a lock of my hair around his finger behind my back, exactly like last time. He smiled wistfully as he retold the events of one of her birthdays when he was a child. How he made her a birthday card all by himself, with construction paper, hearts and balloons. He smiled wider and shook his head as he told me about how he got the glue all over the kitchen table and used his shirt to wipe it up with. He seemed so proud of the card he made as he described it to me in perfect detail, while twirling my hair around his finger and gazing at me wide-eyed. Green and pink with black marker. The first 3 hearts were crooked, so he folded one of the pink construction paper pages in half and cut a half heart out of the center. When he was done and unfolded it, it was perfectly symmetrical with one lone crease down the middle. He began twirling my hair faster as he grinned and told me about how the same process didn't work with the green balloons and it took him more time to get them just right. I chuckled softly as he relayed the mental debate he had over whether or not to add glitter to it. His eyes grew wider and more innocent as he explained giving it to her. I could see it in my mind as he told it. little Edward all excited and happy as he shoved the card in his mother's face enthusiastically, while the inside of his shirt stuck to his skin from the glue. His smile grew wider and more wistful as he described her reaction to it. Happy and glowing. Just as proud of him as he was of himself. He told me she said it beside her bed that night, and then she went to hum him to sleep with a wide smile and planted a sweet kiss on his little cheek. He smiled with a sigh as he twirled my hair.
I wonder whatever happened to it.
He mused in a soft whisper. And as he tried to remember, while gazing into my eyes, his whimsical smile slowly fell. His eyebrows knit together as his agonized green eyes filled with tears, and he opened his mouth, only to close it again. He began twirling my hair more furiously around his finger, and furrowing his brows further while he kept opening and closing his mouth, as if he knew what happened to it, but couldn't force the words out. And when the tears finally spilled over onto the pillow, I plunged my face into the crook of his neck and hugged him tightly, holding him while he cried silently against my shoulder, and battling with urge to cry myself as I held him. Something about the story was unbelievably sad to me, even though it was a happy memory for him. Something about the construction paper birthday card that made my heart clench as I fought back tears and stroked his hair. Something more than just the fact that the card probably burned in the fire. It was the pink heart with the crease down the middle. It was supposed to make the heart perfect, but it marred it. The heart was still technically physically whole, but the crease split it into two separate pieces. He put so much time and effort into it. The smallest of gestures that made him proud and excited as he handed it to his mother on her birthday. He did it all for her. The woman who hummed him to sleep every night and allowed him to soil his good clothes, while he dug holes in her garden every summer. He gave her all of his love, as any child would to their mother. Unconditionally and without any questions or reservations. He folded his pink construction paper heart in half to make it perfect for her. And as I felt his agony seep through the shoulder of my sweater, I wanted to find her and plead with her to tell me what happened. I wanted to ask her how she could do it to him. This beautiful soul that just wanted her love and acceptance. I wanted to look her in the eye and try to understand what could possibly make her turn away from him. But the mental image of Edward's folded pink construction paper heart gave me the strongest urge I had ever felt in my entire existence. I wanted to track her down and spit in her fucking face.